Okay, so Google introduced Gemini recently, and there has been some, I guess, controversy over what they have presented as being in real time, when in fact it was not the case. I'm looking at this again. I know nothing about Gemini, like most people. You just hear about AI and that's about it. And so I'm not going to present, and I'm not presenting myself as an expert, but I am curious as to all this AI and what it means for the average person. What does this mean in terms of jobs? Where exactly are we going to be in relation to these, I guess, machines, excuse me, that are going to be doing most of the work that has been done by humans for some time now. Well, so the Gemini AI is supposed to be, I guess, a competitor or compete with Chat GPT. Now, Chat GPT is far from perfect. Chat GPT will, if you're not careful, give you incorrect information, and if you push Chat GPT with your questions, you will find ChatGPT apologizing and saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, I got it wrong," and what have you. So you do, in a way, have to know, or you have to double check anything that you may get from ChatGPT. So it's far from quote unquote perfect. I wouldn't trust it 100%. And it is taking information from the internet, from other people's work, and coming up, I guess, in a way, paraphrasing, or maybe the computer's actually copying that information and spitting it to you, and you blindly are taking it as gospel. But anyway, Gemini is supposed to be better. It wants to displace ChatGPT. And so the presentation was aimed at saying how much better they were from ChatGPT. I frankly could care less, but what they presented was basically, my understanding of ChatGPT is you ask questions of ChatGPT by typing it up. If there's more that you can do with it, please leave your comments. But I also know that there is a free version, and there's a paid version. So if you want to pay up by month, you can do that, and I guess reap the benefits of that. But I think they're gaining much more from you paying them, because you're teaching this ChatGPT and improving it at your expense, because ultimately you will become dispensable. At any rate, Gemini has introduced, I guess, 3 versions. One is Ultra, which is the one that's supposed to kick ass, if you like. I shouldn't say that, but basically that's what they're saying. And then they have, I guess, so that's the Gemini Ultra, which is not available now, and I think that's what they were presenting. Essentially what you got to see was not ChatGPT, but Gemini in real time being shown a video of a drawing or a duck, and Gemini saying that is like a duck, this is what I'm seeing, Then it was presented with choice of to go to the left, a duck to go to with another duck, or a duck going to what looked like a bear, and it responded correctly by saying it should go with the other duck because it was a friend, versus the one on the right, which was the enemy or foe. So when you look at it that way, it's pretty impressive. In other words, it's not only able to answer to your speech, but it's also able to answer to a video or what appears to be live. So it's actually analyzing what's going on at the moment. But it's turned out that that's not quite what was happening. So you're seeing and hearing a lot of negative press. Apparently their stock went down because of it. And at the same time they presented this information, they said that this was going to be sometime next year. And whether that's true, whether they have created something here that is beyond and above Chat GPT, remains to be seen. But as of now, not everything you were seeing was actually happening. So I'm looking here at their 62-page document, and here they talk about the fact that they've introduced the Gemini, the first version, which Gemini 1.0, is in 3 sizes. One is Ultra for the so-called ultra highly complex tasks. Then they have the Pro, which is an enhanced performance, and Nano for on-device applications. And each one is specifically to address certain application or limitation requirements, whatever that means. But they're in 3. From what I saw, one is on a phone, the other one I don't know what it's in, and the other one is the one that's not available, that is supposed to compete with Chat GPT. Now, they're making all these claims that that is a 9 out of 9 in image understanding, a 6 out of 6 out of video understanding, a 5 out of 5 in speech recognition and speech translation benchmarks. In other words, they're the first model to achieve, according to them, quote-unquote human expert performance on MMLU, whatever that means. And they're saying it's a prominent benchmark testing knowledge and reasoning via a suite of exams with a score of 90%, whatever that means. Ultimately, the question is it better than ChatGPT? And nobody's going to be able to answer that until it's available to the general public and more people have this in their hands. But as of now, it was all a magic trick, if you like, or a good publicity stunt. As you all know, a negative publicity is just as good as good publicity. I mean, people are talking about it. And I guess in that respect, if that's what they were looking for, they got that. Now, for example, let's take a look here. So one of the I guess test that was shown was essentially basically a physics problem where it was handwritten. The student is asked a question about the problem is a skier slides down the frictionless slope as shown, and so it shows a diagram drawn. There are colors. Let me just amplify this. And again, this you can check. As I said, there's nothing here to see. You're not going to see. I'm not going to show you what you can already get. I'm not here to publicize any more than what they've already done all the work. If you want to go see for yourself, you can do that, sit through it. I'm just going to go through this 62-page document, and in fact I'm not going to go through it all, but the first example was basically a test, and it's handwritten, drawn with and handwritten, and the student puts the solution, writes out the solution. The writing is not that great. I mean, if I were to, the answer here, let's see, how is it doing? The conservation of energy means that the energy of the skier is at the beginning and at the end. So this is what the student writes, and then he puts start, E equals mgl, end is E equals half mv squared, and then gives another answer. And the prompt again that the student got was, you try to reason about the question step by step, and then now I guess this is a prompt for Gemini. Try to reason about the question step by step. Did the student get the correct answer? So that's the question that's being asked of Gemini. If the solution is wrong, please explain what is wrong and solve the problem. So this is what is being asked of Gemini. And then it also got, the prompt tells it, make sure to use LA, capital T, small e, and capital X for math, and round off the final answer to 2 decimal places. So here the Gemini response is that the student did not get the correct answer, goes on into it, why that is, goes into explaining it, then it gives you the correct solution is, and then it explains it. It goes into the detail. At the start of the slope, the skier has only potential energy, which is given by mgh, and it goes on and it basically gives the answer. Then it goes to explain how it went about it, and then basically goes into detail. So if you're a student and you got it wrong, you basically are getting a step-by-step explanation as to how the Gemini went about getting the answer, and in a way is teaching you how you should go about getting that answer, which is very interesting. So, I mean, you can see how that can help teachers. If the teacher technically is not replaced, but let's say, for example, the teacher is used for other things, instead of having to correct each exam, you can see how that can help the teacher in terms of correcting homework for a student, right? So, I mean, it's very applicable. So when you look at something like that, you get ideas. That's provided the teacher is not completely replaced. And then if you want to think about it, what other areas can this be of benefit? And your mind can go on, and you probably can come up with other ideas that I am not going to sit here and try to come up with, but you can see that's pretty impressive. Now, I don't know if Chat GPT can do that, but maybe it can. But here is using this. Now, let me quickly go to, and I'm just going to go to the second example, and then I'm going to stop it because, this is just going on and on and on, and I am not, if people are interested in what I have to say, again, I am not a tech person. I'm just the average person out there who is looking at this and wondering, okay, how is this going to affect me and the people around me? And how is it going to change my life, if it is going to change my life? Obviously, I'm not jumping into it, but I find it fascinating enough to look at. It goes in, it's showing a lot of charts. It's showing you how the Nano 1, the Nano 2 Gemini, there's a lot of detail that they're explaining. I'm not going to go into it, but there was one thing that was very interesting, which again had to do with, let me see if I can get it to, There's different charts. Yeah. So there was one example, and I'm gonna have to move here. Give me a second, because as I'm looking at this, I'm running out of battery. That's another thing that hopefully in the future they'll be able to solve. I mean, they're working on all these things, but the computer battery, dies out fairly quickly, So obviously nothing to do with this, but maybe we can get Gemini to come up with a solution. Or Chat GPT, if it has it. If you can get them. But that would put companies out of business quickly if they had a solution to that. A battery that would never die out on you. Anyway, so here they had another example, and this would have been 15, and this went on for some time, and it would take you longer to go through this. But they had a one where I guess they showed, and that's how they did it. In the video, they showed, give me 2 ideas that I could do with these 2 colors. And they present 2 yarn. One is green and one is pink. But what they don't show you is that, and the response of Gemini was that how, and it's actually speaking, okay? So it's actually responding. It's not like it's typed. It's actually responding. So the person is saying, give me 2 ideas that I could do with these 2 colors, and he places the yarn. Give me 2 ideas that I could do with these 2 colors, a green and a pink. And you see this visually on screen as the person is speaking to Gemini. And Gemini speaks back, basically says, I see green and pink yarn. And it responds, how about a green avocado with pink seed? And it shows that. The second idea, or what about a green bunny with pink ears? Now, this is the response, and it actually shows you an image of what it did with the idea. Okay? Now, behind the scenes, what is not being shown to you as the audience, the average person watching this, you're going, wow, that's pretty impressive, is that it's being prompted by the people, we'll say by Google, whoever works for Google, is being prompted by saying colors. I see blue and yellow yarn. That's the prompt. Where the prompt is, give me 2 ideas that I could do with these 2 colors. And then it goes colors. I see blue and yellow yarn. And it shows a picture of a blue yarn and a yellow yarn side by side. So it not only gives you the text prompt that you're giving Gemini, but it's also showing you visually those 2 things. And what's interesting is that the picture shows like a little heart with the yellow, and the blue has a circle. Okay? So then it goes and shows, again, this is part of the prompt. This is not what we're seeing. Putting the idea to Gemini. How about a cute blue cat? And then it shows an image of a blue cat with a yellow nose, the eyes, and this is done with the yarn. Then the other prompt is, or a blue dog that would also have a yellow ear. And it goes ahead and not only gives him that prompt, whatever. Now, and it shows the image of the dog, right? With the yawn and all that. Very cute. Then, the question that we see, now everything I just read to you before, we do not see. What we see visually is the guy with his hands putting a green and pink yarn on a table. It says, give me two, and you hear the voice, give me two ideas that I could do with these two colors. Now, Gemini has been prompted in the background with what I just read you, so that when it responds, it says, I see green and pink yarn. And then it gives you, and then the Gemini is giving you the answers, which is, how about a green avocado with a pink seed? And it gives you an image, or a green bunny with pink ears. And it shows you the image. So that's what's happening. And I guess that's where the controversy is coming from. Because that was not explained at the actual unveiling event. So, as you can understand, in a way, it almost feels like, we are being deceived. We're being led to believe that this is actually happening in real time, when in fact there are other things happening in the background that are helping Gemini come up with the solution. Now, they go on to explain this by saying the Gemini can output multiple images interleaved with text given a prompt that is composed of image and text, which is what they did. They prompted it with image and text. Now, and what I read to you before with the prompt, here in when you're looking at this on the thing, it says on the left figure, Gemini Ultra is prompted in a one-shot setting with a user example of generating suggestions of creating a cat and a dog from yarn when given two colors. Then the model is prompted, and I'm reading here, to generate creative suggestions with two new colors, which it did, where it gave two different colors, which was pink and green. And it generates, in this case, it generated images of creative suggestions to make a cute green avocado with pink seed or green bunny, whatever. So you can look at that and think for yourself, okay, to a certain extent, what you're doing is you're giving an example. What they did was they gave an example of what they wanted Gemini to do. And so Gemini had to see how they did their example and come up creatively with their example. And you can decide whether or not that was cheating or not, what the reasons for that were. But I guess if you're doing and you're working with that and you wanted to have Gemini do something similar, you probably would have to do that. You would have to give Gemini an indication of where it should go and hope that it would come up with a solution that would not be obvious to you. So, I don't know if I have a problem with that, because, you want to give some direction. I mean, if you have somebody that's working under you, for example, you have to have an idea where you want to go. So if you're assigning a task and you're asking a person to just blindly come up with anything, that's not going to help it. But if you tell them specifically what it is that you want, I don't know how I feel about that, but it's up to you. You figure that out. Ultimately, We won't know until we get our hands on this product, Gemini Ultra, and test for ourselves what it can and cannot do, and if it is better than Chat GPT or what have you. I mean, I don't know if you can do this with Chat GPT, but the fact that you could do this, my bigger question is, if you're able to talk to it too, that's even more interesting. But again, I'm playing devil's advocate here, and I'm just giving them the benefit of the doubt. And at the same time, we've been hearing so much about Chat GPT and blah 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 blah, but there are negatives to Chat GPT, as I mentioned, where you are not getting always. You get a lot of generic answers. It takes a lot of effort for the average person. There are people out there who know how to use it better than others, but the average person does not want to become an expert at how to answer. They want to be able to ask their questions and get close enough to an answer to what they're looking for. Anyway, so I will now look at here. This is another one, and frankly, I can't sit through it. I can't sit through this whole thing, but I find it interesting, this whole situation, and I'm beginning to wonder, because Google is not going to make a mistake like that. I think in their presentation, they just figured, let's just get the information out, to get it, do it, and let's not go into all the details, because the majority of people probably are not even aware that there's an issue. They just saw what they saw, and they haven't followed up. But there's a lot of talk, and as I said, if people are talking about your product, well, that's what you want them to do. Now they will have between now and whenever they release the Ultra to deliver on what they showed, you see, and what they said that they had overachieved. Well, it's not overachieved, but that they had certainly beat Chat GPT. So, they will have that time to prove that. And if they're not able to prove it, then, it will be what it will be. But obviously it's putting Chat GPT on warning. And maybe, there's another we'll call it dark horse in the background who's going to overtake both of them. But anyway, now here I'm looking at another where they did a cooking scenario about making an omelet. And here what they did is that they prompted the model, according to this, with a sequence of audio and images, which is interesting. Because, we don't always want to be typing. So here we have, I'm looking at, is asking, what is the first step to make a veggie omelet with these ingredients? And so that's the question that's being asked. And you see the image. An image shows you, I believe, 2 eggs. Let me just blow it up a little bit. 2 eggs, pepper. I think that's broccoli. And that's what I'm seeing. Okay? 2 eggs. Yeah, okay. The models respond in text. According to this here, is crack the eggs into a bowl and whisk them. So that will be step 1. So in this table, it's table 13, it indicates that to interact with the model, you provide pictures and verbally asking the questions. So you provide the pictures and verbally ask questions about the next steps for cooking an omelet. Now, this is saying that it's reasonably accurate, that the answer by Gemini is reasonably accurate, meaning that it's able to see the image clearly, and it's saying, okay, you crack the eggs into a bowl and you whisk them. So then the next picture, it shows an omelet cooking on a pan with all the ingredients on it, and the person will be saying, thank you, Gemini, for the instructions. I started to make my omelet. Does it look ready now? Now, I guess what we're trying to determine here from Gemini is able to see what's going on in the image. So this is what the test is really about. Can Gemini recognize what's going on in the image? Can it study the image? And the answer that Gemini gives is, it looks like it's almost ready. You can flip it over to cook it the other side, because the omelet, it's not folded or whatever. So it's saying flip it over. So that's interesting. Okay. So the next question that the person would be doing is not showing an image and just right out asking, why is it not ready? And so it's asking, in a way, it's forcing Gemini to look at what's going on in the image and determine why it's asking it to flip it. It's asking you to flip it. And the answer is, it's not ready because the eggs are still running. So, okay. So I'm looking at the image, and yeah, I guess that's the case. So now the next image that is inputted to Gemini is the omelet and been flipped, and now you don't see that part of it. And what about now? So that's the question. And Gemini's answer, it looks ready now. You can take it off the heat and serve it. So this is a visual test for Gemini with you inputting via audio. And so I guess the test is, it's a sequence of text, vision, and audio, and reasoning. It's asking Gemini to reason. And the user is, us will be prompting the model for instructions to make an omelet and to inspect whether it's fully cooked. And that's exactly, if that's what happened, then it did the job. Now, it goes on, and there are pages here which, I'm not going to go through all this. All I care about is this: does this thing actually, am I able to talk to it and is it able to help me accomplish that? And I'm trying to skip through the pages here. I'm halfway through. I'm looking for other contributions. Oh God. And this computer is not. So I think and as I said, the big controversy is these prompts that I mentioned earlier that were not disclosed during the demonstration. They're disclosed in this here, so I guess you had to dig for them. So did they hide them? No. They just didn't present them for whatever reason. You come up with your own conclusions. But they got a lot of press for their first claim that they had beat Chat GPT. And so Chat GPT was silent during this period, and probably they're still silent, Chat GPT. And then, they got all the press. Then now they're getting more press because they lied, and so it has affected so they're still getting press. Now I see here where they have a picture of a plant, and again it's evaluating Gemini and seeing if it can evaluate a picture of plant and say, do you know what it is? What this plant? This plant? Do you know what this plant? How do I best take care of it? Well, there's a typo there. But what is this plant? And how do I best take care of it? So now, Gemini is being asked, is giving it a problem. What is this first? Determine what this is. And then tell me how to take care of it. And, the response is, that it's a Persian plant, a tropical plant. It goes into the details, where it is. It's a popular house plant, and it goes into, because of this, the ease of care. It has purple leaves. It goes into details, a little bit more detail, blah, 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 blah. So, so the typo, so then it addresses the typo. So that even though the person inputting had mistyped the question, do you know what this plant? How do I best take care of it? So it's addressing the fact that typo, that mistake, that Gemini was able to still, even with the typo, understand what the user was questioning, which is very important, because sometimes we make we are typing and we make mistakes, whatever, but somebody else can determine what it is. Another human being can determine what we're trying to say and ignore the typo. And so here they are testing Gemini. Can it still understand what the user is asking? And it was able to, and still answer. So that was not a typo by Google, but it was intentional typo to see how Gemini was able to handle that. And it passed the test, according to this report here. Now, then it's asking it to create a blog about a trip to New York, where a dog and its owner had a lot of fun, and the prompt is asking Gemini to create or to include a few pictures of the dog posing happily in landmarks or what have you. So Gemini does a little intro as the dog. And we have 3 pictures of a cute dog facing the camera, and there's a taxi in the background, a yellow cab. So I'm assuming this is New York. And then he's at the park, the dog, and sure enough, the dog is looking at the Hudson River at I won't say it's a poodle, but I'm not good with my dogs here. Looking at the Freedom Tower. And so the Gemini is writing a 1, 2, 3, 4 paragraph, very simple 4 paragraph. And sure enough, I had not read it. So saying, I guess Gemini has looked at everything and knows that it's Cooper. So, hi, I'm Cooper. I'm a 2-year-old golden doodle. Okay. Who loves to travel. Really cute. So it goes into using the fact that the pictures were dated a certain time. So it says, last month, my family and I went to New York City. Okay. It was my first time in the Big Apple, and I had a blast. Now, Whether this was the dog's first trip to New York, to the Big Apple, we're not quite sure how Gemini came up with that. Maybe it took creative license and said, probably this is the best thing that people will react to. And you know what? I have reacted to that. I find that comical. So, and it has even an exclamation point. And I had a blast. So, the first paragraph is well written. So then we go on. We stayed in a hotel near Times Square. So it knows that people, when they travel, that's where they're going to go, to Times Square, at a hotel near Times Square. Perfect. So it goes on to, it was so much fun to see all the bright lights and people. We went to see a Broadway show, right? I mean, this is the stuff that people do when they're in New York. And got to meet some actors. Wow, this dog had a ball. So, well, I don't know. Maybe he didn't. But, maybe he was hoping for better pastures, to be adopted by one of those actors and have a better, I guess, more travels and more experiences. But anyway, that's my take on it. Maybe Gemini would be that too. One of my favorite parts of New York City was Central Park. Oh, come on. And it was so big and beautiful. I love running around and playing fetch. Yeah, sure, people go to the park with their pets. We also went to the Statue of Liberty and the Empire State Building. I was so excited to see all the famous landmarks. So, I had so much fun in New York City. It's definitely one of my favorite places to travel. I can't wait to go back someday. Hint, hint to the owners, right? So, that was something Gemini did, and you can see how useful that can be for people who have personal blogs. I'm getting tired, and I'm going to end it with this, I think. And basically what it's saying that, when they evaluated this at Google, that the Gemini follow the instructions, stay very close to what the images were about, and everything revolved around that dog. And in that sense, I have to agree, it was quite successful. And, it goes on, and it goes through, again, having Gemini evaluate images and asking a Gemini questions, and it goes on. I'm sure you can go through this and judge for yourself if Gemini is going to be a threat to Chat GPT. Again, it doesn't really matter to me, but, I'm sure they'll have another AI that will be probably much, much, much better than Chat GPT, Gemini, or anything that we have right now that we're not aware of, and probably will be in the forefront in, who knows, in less than 5 years. Anyway, this is my first thing on this. I have other things that aren't related to this, so I may not be doing any more of Chat GPT or AI or whatever, because as I said, I'm just the average guy out here. I am not a tech guy. But if you've been entertained, let me know in the comments, or if you're pissed off that you've been listening for 40 minutes or so and didn't get anything out of it, then let me know too, get a little I don't know. Anyway, thank you for listening and have a nice day.